So before we dive into the podcast, do you like both picks?
Yeah, no, I like both picks. I'm higher on Stevenson than I am Dexter, but I think those are both good picks. Both.
I love the Stevenson pick.
Oh
Dexter,
yeah, no,
I'm
me
a
too.
little. I wonder if they could have done things differently and got Dexter later.
Yeah, I think Dexter they maybe could have got at 64, but I mean either way, like it's big time additions to the defense. They need the upgrades, so that'll be big stuff.
All right. We'll go another minute here for those on the live stream. We're going to be talking both picks here with Jacob Infante. We'll do Dexter first, then we're going to do Stevenson. So it's going to be back-to-back podcasts. So when you hear us wrap up after Dexter, don't go anywhere. We're going to dive right back in to podcast number 2. And of course, these will be up on the Windy City Gridiron podcast channel a little later. All right. So are you ready to dive in to Dexter?
Yeah, no, I'm ready to go.
All right, then
Yes,
let's do this. Here we go. Going live. That's right. Bear down, Bears fans. It's time for another edition of the Chicago Bears podcast, Bears Banter, powered by Windy City Gridiron and SB Nation. Bill Zimmerman with you, and I am joined by Jacob Infante, the lead draft analyst for Windy City Gridiron. Jacob, Bill Zimmerman, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Bill. Lot of activity going on here with the Bears making a bunch of picks in this little succession here. So just a lot of interesting stuff to talk about. And I'm liking what the Bears have done. Didn't necessarily predict it coming, but now that I look back on it, I'm like, okay, some of these picks make sense if we're being honest.
All right, so let's get into their second pick. Of course, we know Darnell Wright. We discussed it last night. They went offense. They went offensive line. No surprise here if you're looking at the Chicago Bears roster. That defensive line is where they went next. Gervon Dexter from Florida. An interesting choice there. He's got a lot of things you're going to like in a prospect, but there's going to be some things on the field if you go and watch his tape in college that you're going to say he left some things on the field in terms of how he plays. So, Jacob, I'll just give you the floor. What did you think of the Dexter draft pick there at 53?
Yeah, so Dexter is a bit of I don't want to say boomer bust because I don't think he's necessarily going to be a bust, but I think you're betting a lot on projection and upside with him. You're looking at, very good size, a guy who's like 6'6", about 310, good arm length, who, explodes off the ball, tested insanely well at the combine. And I think you're looking at, when you watch him on tape, when he times his acceleration right, it's very good. And his ability to hit top speed quickly, especially when he gets closing speed out in pursuit, is very good for a guy at his position. Very good run defender from what I've seen. I think he, uses his hands well. He's got good situational awareness once he's locked up with a guy, and the ability to, stack and shed, or, use push pulls and, swims and stuff like that to be able to shed blocks and make tackles against the run. And he's versatile too. I mean, I think he's at his best when he's playing as a 1 technique, but he can rush as a 3 tech as well. So I know a lot of people are immediately going to say, oh, defensive tackle, this is a 3 tech. I think Dexter can be a 3 tech. I personally like him better as a 1 tech on passing downs, but that's just me. And, I think you're looking at pad level and weight distribution is a bit of an issue with him. I think he's a bit too upright. I'd really like to see him generate a little bit more bend in his knees at the point of attack, but gifted guy, just a gifted prospect. I think he's going to be an upgrade to the defensive line which the Bears desperately needed. So from a positional standpoint, this is very good. From a value, I had like a round 3 on him. So late round 2, that's not a bad pick by any means.
Yeah, look, I think it's a little bit of a reach. I'm not going to scream and yell that they went way too early. I do wonder if he would have been there at 64, if they could have maneuvered things a little bit differently and gone with a different guy here with the 53rd pick. But what you mentioned to me, and that's what I have the most, I guess, alarm about, and certainly it's coachable, you can fix it, is kind of that upright and that pad level, which sometimes gets him knocked around a little bit off the ball, and then he's got to use his size and skill to kind of, to fix what he did right out of the gate of the play. That, of course, isn't going to be so simple at the NFL level. The other thing I noticed when I watched him is that double teams were, he was not great at kind of setting anchor on those double teams, got pushed around a little bit. So like you said, I think it's definitely a projection in terms of what he can become. So I don't think Bears fans should expect him to come in and be, I don't want to say a dominant force. I'm sure he's going to be rotating in on the defensive line, but you would guess probably not starting out of the gate, rotating in at D-line here. He's that type of pick, correct?
Yeah, no, that's what I think. I, definitely agree with you there. Dexter, he's someone who, he wins a lot in one-on-one situations with, pure physical tools, in spite of his pad level, in spite of his weight distribution. There you go. That's my first
in-depth analysis from Jacob Infante right there.
There you go. But yeah, no, I think Dexter, I want to see, like you mentioned, the double teams are a bit of an issue for him because he struggles with leverage. I really think that there's definitely room to improve as a technician. I think the raw play strength is above average for his position. So I think he's more or less just scratching the surface. I think once he's able to get his body control underneath him, once he's able to get maybe a little bit more flexible, then that's where I really start to see some of his tools really maximize. So I think he rotates right away. I think he plays certainly right away, but it's just a matter of exactly how much he's going to play. I think they're going to take a little bit more time with him, but very, very good tools with him. I think he's someone you're playing the long game with. So I'm absolutely cool with that.
Yeah, and I think, you brought up the fact that, he may not be the pure 3-tech that a lot of Bears fans want to see in the Matt Eberflus defense, and you thought maybe rushing downs as the 1-tech on rushing downs. Yeah. And then when you said that, it just kind of made me think that perhaps this is a guy, and I know there's Andrew Billings and Justin Jones and other guys like that, but perhaps this is the kind of situation where we can see, Demarcus Walker, we know, has flexibility for the Bears on the defensive line. He can play edge and he can bounce inside. You think maybe it's one of those things where you could see, now that's a 3-year deal for him, so he's going to be around much longer than Justin Jones and Billings and these other guys. Do you think maybe the Bears could be seeing something similar where Gervon kind of bumps to that 1-tech on passing downs? You bump Walker inside on passing downs, and then you have 2 pure rushers coming off the edge.
Yeah, no, I'd honestly be cool with that. I think with that defensive line, you have some pretty good versatility just in general. You're looking at, like you mentioned, Dexter can play 1-tech, he can play 3-tech, true nose, maybe even. Demarcus Walker's a guy who can kick outside and inside. We'll see if they make any more defensive line additions in this draft. Obviously, we'll see. They haven't as of this recording, but and then you're looking at, I think Justin Jones will, continue to play a role for that defensive line, as will Andrew Billings, especially on what would presume to be running situations. So yeah, I think that they've definitely added talent. I think that they lack a true star, which I think Dexter has the potential to be a very good starter at the next level. Maybe not elite, but again, if he was, at elite potential, he'd be going round 1. He's got potential to be a very good starter in the league if all goes well with him. I like to see him, in addition to that pad level, work on timing exactly when to fire off the ball. Naturally gifted athlete. We saw that at the combine, but I want to see his just the ability to process, say, okay, now I'm shooting off the ball. And, because that can be a little bit delayed at sometimes. You're not really maximizing the physical potential as much as you'd like with him. So, yeah, I think the defensive line versatility is going to be the name of the game. So I definitely agree with you there.
All right, before we wrap up kind of your thoughts on Dexter, let me ask you this. The way the second round broke, and clearly, with this Dexter pick, obviously Poles and company were looking for that defensive tackle, that beef up front on the defensive line. The way the second round broke, do you think maybe there could have been another guy that went ahead of them that maybe they were targeting? Maybe they're a Benton guy from Wisconsin. Do you think that was the guy they had in all along? Because we heard the Bears were potentially, Brad Biggs and some other guys were talking about potentially the Bears trying to trade up into the early part of the second round. I have a hard time believing they were trying to trade up for Dexter. Do you think maybe they had someone else in mind and Dexter was plan B?
I'm not necessarily sure. I think my guess is they'd expect the edge rushers to go a little bit later. Maybe they would have targeted someone there because, as of this recording, there's a lot of edge rusher talent, got off the board right before the Bears picked at 53. So maybe that was something they had in mind. But Keanu Benton, he's a bit more of a polished immediate starter than he is a long-term projection with, the top-notch physical upside. So I had a higher grade on Benton. I'll be totally honest, just because I think he's more polished and, better awareness as of right now. But I think the ceiling with Dexter's higher. So that pick in particular, I was a little bummed when it happened, but the Benton pick to Pittsburgh, I should say. But
you're bummed Benton was off the board.
Yeah, I was bummed Benton was off the board. Just to clarify, I'm not mad with the Dexter pick at all. I think it's a good, solid pick, but it's different strokes for different folks, really. It's just, are you going to be willing to bet on athletic potential and upside, or do you want the guy with maybe a little bit more of a limited ceiling than Dexter, and someone who is a bit of a safer bet? So Steelers went with the safer bet. Bears went with the high upside potential variation. So I can't go wrong there. I do think that there's good validity to that for sure.
All right, last question for you on Dexter. Obviously two facets to everything: run defense and pass rush. Where do you think his bread and butter will be, at least early in the NFL? Is he going to have more ability to get to the quarterback or more ability to stuff the run?
I think he's a bit more polished against the run right now. I think he's someone who, uses his hands well against the run. I think he shows better awareness and knows what he's doing a bit better when he's defending the run. But I think you're also looking at a guy who, he's got pass rushing potential. So that's something that I'm especially interested in, and I'm going to be interested in seeing how he's going to develop as a pass rusher, see if he can get more flexible, see if he can, squeeze through those gaps and bend a little bit better. So I think he's going to be better as a run defender early on, but I think he's got plenty of a ceiling as a pass rusher.
All right, well, there it is, Bears fans. An endorsement from Jacob Infante. He's on board with the Gervon Dexter pick at 53 overall. 2 more picks to go. Make sure you stick around. We'll have more podcasts breaking them down. This is Bears Banter. Bill Zimmerman with Jacob Infante. Bear down, everybody. Adios for now. We'll be back with more of the Chicago Bears 2023 NFL Draft. Stick around. All right. So we'll fire up this second podcast here in a second. Zach Pickens. I don't know if you saw, Jacob.
Yeah, I saw that.
Do you want to do Stevenson first, or you want to end the live and we'll kick the live back up again in a few minutes and handle Pickens? What do you want to do?
Is it cool if we work on that? If we record it in a little bit?
Yeah. So all right. So fans, we're gonna end this broadcast. We're gonna pick it up in a few minutes, not too long at all. So make sure you look for that push notification. Jacob and I will be back, and we'll break down Tyreek Stevenson and Zach Pickens. So stick around. But Jacob, we'll let you go, and we'll get these next 2 picks done.
All right, perfect. Sounds good. I appreciate it so much, Bill.
All right, hang on, Bears fans.